Hey folks, this is Bailey from Dank, Wargaming,
Hey, this is Heath with Team Table War Hawaii.
and welcome to the Path to Redemption, the Warhammer 40,000 Dark Angels podcast, where we aim to provide Dark Angels players with the tactical and hobby skills that they need in order to enjoy this wonderful hobby of ours. This month, we have some new Horus Heresy releases that we want to try and squeeze into our 40k armies. We have two lists that made the top 10 at the Salt City GT in New York in our Meta Watch segment. Heath goes over his tournament experience in today's featured segment. Then we check in on our monthly hobby challenge from our last month, which I believe was Ravenwing. And finally, we see what you all have to say about last month's episode in our community segment. All right, so for new releases, it's not a true Dark Angels release, but I went and looked at some of the sprues from the preview, and the new series of Space Marine Heroes models are coming out. They're Blood Angel themed, but from what I saw, it doesn't look like anything's molded onto them like previous ones. They've got like decals. Right. So it looks like if you want some tactical Marines, you can get this new series there. Also, without any molded details, the new plastic Leviathan is out for $80 for Horus Heresy. So if you haven't got a Leviathan yet, such as me, I haven't got one yet. There's a chance to get one.
I got some plans for a Leviathan Dreadnought. I'll tell you about that later. Like when we do my tournament, and I'll tell you, okay, lessons learned, what I'm thinking about next. I got some plans. So proceed.
Perfect timing. And then if you just need the plastic weapon sprue, it's $27. The McFarlane Dark Angels Intercessor Artist Proof is out for $19.99. So again, we live in this weird world where I can get a giant Space Marine for $20, but if I want a Space Marine Captain, he is $40. And it's like, okay, I got it. You just want me to play Big Hammer. Got it. And then because we're recording on a Sunday at the end of July, we got to see the Sunday preview for next weekend's pre-orders, and the Dark Angels upgrade sprues are coming on pre-order next weekend, along with Marduk Sendris, the Lord of the 23rd Order, which is a new heresy character for Dark Angels. So very exciting stuff. That dude
looks good. Yeah. He looks so good. I mean, like if you're looking for a Cataphracty character or a Terminator Sergeant, like consider. I know it's a lot of money to spend for just one character sergeant, but it's a slick looking model.
Oh yeah, he's
like
great.
I cannot wait to get my hands on that guy and paint him.
All right, so we're hopping into our Meta Watch. So we got the Salt Lake City GT. It's a 55-player 8-round event in Syracuse, New York. It happened last weekend, and we have two finishers. We have Jeremy Atkinson in 6th place and Michael Worth in 9th. I believe we've talked about Jeremy a few times on the podcast. That name seems familiar to me. So this is from the Goonhammer article. They described the list as the Ravenwing return, taking advantage of the newly discounted Storm speeders, plus lots of attack bikes and powerful characters, looking to score a lot of death on the win point. So that's from Goonhammer.
You want to hear about the what the list actually has in it? I got to pull it up here.
Let's go for it.
Okay, so this is going to sound real familiar if you listen to our last month's episode. This is basically looks like 2 Ravenwing Outrider detachments. So you get paid for one of them, you don't get paid for the other one. You start with 0 command points.
Brave.
No command points. Right. So first detachment is a Talon Master with Arbiter's Gaze and Rites of War. Love it. Mm-hmm. That's pretty classic. The Apothecary with the Selfless Healer and an Astartes Grenade Launcher. So then 2 bike squads with Chainswords, 90 points. 2 3-man bike squads. Right? 1 Land Speeder with a Multi-Melta, that's 70 points. And then 2 Storm Speeder Thunder Strikes. Those are the ones that Adam was talking about because they hit on 2s and they have a little bit more range, so they can, kind of play free safety in your backfield. Hold your own objectives, scoot and shoot. And so that's the first attachment.
Okay.
So your second attachment is 3 squads of 3 attack bikes with multi-meltas. So there's your damage dealers. 3 Ravenwing Land Speeder Vengeances with heavy bolters. So that's your high output plasma. Then Samael, and then here is one that may be a little controversial, but I actually think it's a good tech piece. 5 Infiltrators.
Okay.
So this is not a true Ravenwing Outrider, obviously, but because it's your second attachment, it doesn't matter. One of the things that I recently learned was that in order for you to get the command point refund, pardon me, in order for you to get the command point refund, you need to have not you need to have the detachment be full Ravenwing. So it's not just about getting OBSEC for the bikes.
Right.
Man, I don't know what the hell's going on there. Drink some water. Maybe we can
There we
edit
go.
that
Break it up.
Yeah, it's early in the morning, man. It's early in the morning here. Okay. Yeah, so two things that I've upon a more careful reading the rules really kind of picked up on is one that yes, everyone knows that you need to get have a full Ravenwing or Deathwing / Inner Circle detachment in order to get the in order to get the OBSEC on the specified units. The other thing is you need to have that criteria met in order to get the command point refund as well. Okay. So in this case, it's not just okay, well you lose OBSEC, it's you don't get the command point refund. But because this is the second detachment, doesn't matter. Also, I was under the impression at one point in my life, which at that point ended a couple weeks ago, that attack bikes were OBSEC. Because I saw Bike Squad, and they are not, because it doesn't use separate. Because they have the Bike Squad keyword, but what it says in the second company is not Bike Squad keyword, capital bold. It's Bike Squad like normal font, which means the data sheet Bike Squad. So my bad. I've never done that in a tournament because I don't play a lot of tournaments. Hopefully I will be moving forward. But yeah, so the infiltrators I think are important because they give you at least the prayer of taking of Grim Resolve, even though that's, as we discussed last week, really kind of a trap. But they also give you the ability to do Phobos shenanigans and screen out your backfield, yada yada yada. I don't know. What do you think about this?
Well, I could see that it's coming out to do lots of DACA, and if you don't have bike score, the things that need OBSEC in that second attachment where you have the troop choice, it doesn't matter, right? That you're breaking second company rules at that point, like you were saying. So it's fine to be in there, and they're such a useful piece because they have OBSEC, they have the 12-inch bubble of deny, deep strikers, which will keep people out of your backfield, keep them away from keep people away from your vehicles and your characters. You don't want them to be able to draw, because you're going to have a lot of space, right? Because if you have these vehicles, in order to keep people from hopping into places you don't want them to be, you're going to have to spend an awful lot of time doing a lot of pre-measuring. Like, well, I got to move here to get line of sight, but I also have to keep making sure I've got these 9-inch, 18-inch bubbles, basically, where it's 18 inches between all my models, so people can't drop squads or single characters in on top of me, and then come in and just clear out my whole army. So I can see why you do that, because that gives you a little more leeway, which is very useful. So, but I know that's something we talked about, like, with the innovation of new Nephilim, it's like going all in, spend all your command points on things that you're always going to get a benefit out of. They're not little one hitters. You're getting the relics and the warlord traits and things like that, or having the multiple detachments so you can have more units, because that seemed to be an issue that we were talking about last month when we were trying to build single outrider lists. We just run out of attack slots, and you can't add anything else except for the bike units in the Black Knights and the characters in the elite slot. So you have to kind of have that second detachment. Yeah.
Now there is some stuff you could do with like multiple squads of land speeders, like 3 squads of 3 land speeders comes up to like 270 points. But if you're using those Thunder Strikes and the land speeder vengeances, you run out of detachment slots pretty quick. Yep. You could put 1 squad of 3 Black Knights in there to make use of the non-Force Org slot stuff. But yeah, and then also don't forget that you can put multiple Talon Masters per HQ slot. Yep. So you can get 2 Talon Masters per HQ slot because of the Company Heroes rule, which does specifically apply to Talon Masters. I checked on it. So this is obviously built around getting Death on the Wind. This could, so I in my experience, engage on all fronts is kind of a trap these days, I think, because engage on all fronts requires you to be 6 inches away from any other table quarter.
And like the edge of the board too, right?
I don't know if it's the edge of the board. I don't have my book handy, which is an oversight. But and the thing is, most of the way the objectives are set out in most of the missions in Nephilim, they're on or very close to the borders between the table quarters. So you're basically saying that, okay, like engage kind of directly contraindicates your primary play. because you can't
That's not good.
hold a primary and also meet engage. That is an issue. So
Yes,
I've kind of gone away from engage on all fronts. And I think, as we discussed last week with Adam, that shock tactics is probably a good change for this. More on that in my tournament debrief. Shock tactics does have there's some stuff that you need to consider when you're taking shock tactics. But
excellent.
Yeah. So anyway, this is listed. I think we've talked about the theory behind this list before. It's pure DACA. It just does a lot of damage. And one Talon Master with Rights of War and Arbiter's Gaze has more implications. Like the Rights of War, I think, is very important for this play style. And once again, we could talk more about that a little bit later. But yeah, bold move to take 0 CP to start, because it doesn't give you the ability to do like a alpha strike on turn 1 with overcharged plasma.
Right.
But whatevs. So.
All right. So next list was Michael Worth's, and according to Goodhammer, this was the other side of the Dark Angels coin. So we're seeing Deathwing Knights, tooled up Deathwing Terminator squad, 2 units of the Relic Terminators with the classic Bolter and Claw. And their sort of last comment here is that it's not an easy ride for Stubborn Defiance anymore, which was what people were running the Deathwing lists to do.
Mm-hmm.
But now you can't use the Terminators with Nephilim to do Stubborn Defiance, and you have to go out of your deployment zone, which is hard for Terminator lists. But the idea that you just have these big bricks of really hard to kill guys, I mean, they still play the primaries well. So I'm assuming that's what Goonhammer was getting at. And if you're trying to do things like flip objectives or assault objectives and flip them, Terminators are great at that.
Yeah.
And does this list have well, do you? I mean, you have the list, right? Heath?
I've got it. It came out in a really weird format, so it might actually take me a second to edit it into something I can read. Sorry,
because I don't want to start speculating about a list when it's already when we have it. But I would think with some of this play where you just have Terminators and we're trying to flip objectives, having whatever the relic on the Ancient that lets your guys count as having been more than what they actually are would be really powerful, because you could just kind of bounce that guy around and then like, oh no, I've lost because I'm outnumbered. And I move this guy over here. Oh, look at this. I'm now multiple. And if you had like a Ravenwing Ancient with that ability where he can fight and then fall back and move around, you could start flipping objectives everywhere all the time.
I got
models double.
Yeah, I got a lot of work out of that. Man, sorry, this guy he did like the full Battle Scribe roster output.
Oh man.
And so I'm having to like edit it into something that's a little more readable.
That's all right.
So could go in Relic Terminator Squad. Okay. So it looks like 2. All right. Okay. So yeah, I think I got this translated. So it is a Deathwing Vanguard attachment. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
His HQs, he's got 2. He has an Interrogator Chaplain.
Excellent.
With a Litany of Faith, Canticle of Hate, a Chain Sword. He's the Master of Sanctity, obviously. I think that's pretty straightforward. So he's got a Jump Pack. He's got Hero of the Chapter. He's got a Relic of the Teeth of Terra and Wise Order.
Okay.
Yeah, so obviously, yeah, she's a Smash Chaplain. Okay, cool. So next one, Librarian. So he has just a Librarian with Mindworm, Righteous Repugnance, and Engulfing Fear, which means he's the Chief Librarian, right? So he's spent 2 CPs on each of these characters, right? So again, I think he's probably going to start with like no command points. So yeah, Psychic Mastery. He's also a Paragon chapter, so this is his actual dude. So Psychic Mastery, and where's his other Warlord trait? So Decisive Tactician. So
that's the move faster. That's
so good. +1 to advance, +1 to charge. I ran into this in my tournament, and it's actually really good because it puts a little pep in the step of all those Terminators, right? Because fun fact, we got Terminators coming.
Well, and people forget that Terminators move 5. Like, I've played games myself where, like, having not played them in a long time, forgot that they're slower than regular Terminators. And then from like 8th edition, where you had the different kinds of Terminators,
Yep.
what became the relic, like the Tartarus ones, were special because they moved 6.
Yeah.
And after using
the
them for a little bit,
Cataphractes
then I went
moved
back
4.
to
Yeah.
yeah.
So, okay. So yeah, this guy's got. And the librarian has a jump pack. So the librarian and they can move up and put that decisive tactician aura where they need to put it. So in case the chaplain doesn't get his +2 to charge aura off, he's got a +1 backup with the librarian, right?
Yep. Redundancy. Classic.
Redundancy. Yep. All right. So you ready for some Terminators?
I'm ready.
Okay. What if I told you the first Terminator squad was 10 Deathwing Knights?
I could see that.
I
just found out I have a spare one that I can build, so I can actually have my own 10-man squad. Because right now I only have 9. So
just straight 10 Deathwing Knights.
About that.
10 Deathwing Knights. Love it. Okay. So 10 Deathwing Knights. Unfortunately, he doesn't have a marked for command Mastercrafted Flail, because that's like my go-to. But hey, I think it'll work. So Deathwing Terminator squad is the next one, 480 points. So this is a 10-man Deathwing Terminator squad. I just see a lot of Thunderhammer Storm Shield. I think literally every single one of these nerds has a Thunderhammer and Storm Shield. And then 2 Cyclone Missile Launchers.
You don't need Armor Contempt where he's going.
Yeah.
Not at all.
Yeah. No, you don't need that. That's redundant. All right. So then we have a Ravewing Apothecary, Selfless Healer. Gotcha. Right. I don't see any stratagems on or any relics on them. Right. And then, hey, look at this. 10 Relic Terminators with Lightning Claws and Combi Bolters. 10 more Relic Terminators with Lightning Claws and Combi Bolters. So this is 40 Terminators. 30 of which are OBSEC, and the other 10 are Deathwing Knights. So I played a list very similar to this in my tournament and got straight bodied. So more on that later. The way that this list plays is very different than it used to be. So because you don't have Stubborn Defiance isn't really an option. So you have to be more aggressive with it. So you're going to take Raise the Banners. You're going to take probably Oaths of Moment. Martial Interdiction is not a bad choice either. If they have a character that needs to come fight you.
In that list.
Yeah.
Yeah, their whole list could score that.
Yes, literally the entire list could score that. So, the only downside I have is I don't think he's got enough. He's got enough command points free because he spent 4 on his HQs and 1 on his elites. So he starts the game with looks like probably 1. He starts the game with 1 command point. So. You can keep an objective secret if you want. I found that was actually a really, really, really clutch thing to be able to do. But no Stubborn Defiance, but you can definitely play Oaths of Moment. I have a hard time doing that unless I take unless there's an objective in the middle of the board. But Banners is definitely going to work, right? And you can drop in Terminators to be aggressive. You could probably play behind enemy lines on this if you want. So. There you go.
No, I like it. I mean, I wonder if we will start to see, if this shock tactics thing works out, we will start to see some of those ancients. Because I've seen, you don't really see them burnt much anymore, and that was mostly just to get the relic banner. But I think if you're going to play sort of this ability to bounce around and score a lot of points on that, since you can't use Stubborn Defiance anymore, I wonder if that'll be something we see going forward. Might have to try that out. So got a buddy coming to town for Gen Con. Maybe we can get a game in. I'll try it out.
So he lost game 4 and game 8. So game 4 was against Eldar. Right? Eldar, a lot of Aspect Warriors. So
he probably just got pinned. I wonder if he just got pinned in his deployment zone, because that seems to be my experience against Eldar. They're just so fast.
They just
you don't
put
get out. They jump on
a bunch of Warp Spiders and Wind Riders and Shining Spears. Yeah, they can pin you down and just keep you from moving. So, and then his last game was against Necrons. We'll talk about the Necrons if you want, because Necrons are in a real good spot. So,
yeah, I know you told me that you played some Necrons recently, and their secondary play is
gnarly. It is nuts. So, yeah, that was actually the only game I won in my tournament was against Necrons, because I tooled my list kind of specifically to deal with that. and maybe more on that later. So anyway, so that's our two top 10 finishes from a major GT this last weekend. I don't know.
Well, congrats to Jeremy and Michael for going and competing with the Dark Angels.
Indeed.
Because it seems, based on some of the other lists I was looking at, that Blood Angels are the preferred Astartes list right now. It also looked like there was an Iron Hand successor list out there. So for Jeremy and Michael to stay loyal to the First Legion, this is your loyalty as its own reward. We talk about you when you do well, and we see it. So there you go. That's your reward.
All right. So, yeah. Shall we move on?
Let's go.
All right. So, well, we had a 1,500 point tournament here in Honolulu last weekend. So slightly different meta. The idea was we're trying to make it accessible to newer players. 2,000 points is kind of an intimidating number. So 1,500. Also, the games are probably a little quicker. And I actually like 1,500 points. You have to make some tough.
Oh, I love it.
You have to make some tough decisions at 1,500 points with what you're going to be able to deal with. But no, we put 24 players, for
That's
RTT,
good.
which is really good for Hawaii. We generally don't get that's 50% bigger than we normally got pre-pandemic. So we've had a lot of new people, a lot of new blood come in, and lots of new players. We had a guy play an Eldar that the first game of the tournament was his 5th game of 40K ever.
Oh wow!
He had started playing 2 weeks before and just like got 3 colors on an Eldar list and went. So, but yeah.
Well, proud of him for that. That's impressive.
Big props. So, all right. So here's what I did. Here's what I ran. The idea was I wanted to do a lot of the Ravenwing stuff we were talking about, but I didn't have time to finish a lot of the Ravenwing things, mostly because there's a lot of bikes I would need to put together, and I've got them. I just don't have the bases for them. I have all the old pill bases. I don't have the oval bases, and I wanted to be consistent. And I wanted to play with that big 10-man brick of Black Knights that I painted a couple months ago. And I'm not going to lie to our listeners. Every single time that I send Bailey a list, he's just like, I knew this was you because I saw the Black Knights. So anyway, I had to get it out of my system. But so here's the list. This is a single Deathwing Vanguard detachment. So no Force Org slot. I got the Chief Apothecary, Selfless Healer, and a Ravenwing Champion, who's the Chapter Champion, with Reliquary of the Repenitent. So then I've got a Talon Master with Arbiter's Gaze and Rites of War. He's the actual Warlord, and then Samael. Right.
So really taking advantage of that inner circle keyword, because people are going, wait a minute, these are all Ravenwing characters.
They all have inner circle, right? So that is the advantage here. So then I had a 2-man Deathwing command squad, Lightning Claws on one, Thunderhammer on the other. The purpose of that squad is just there to get behind enemy lines or sit somewhere and pull a banner if I need to, or accomplish a mission secondary or a mission action. Right. And then I had a 4-man squad of Ravenwing Black Knights, and then a 10-man squad of Ravenwing Black Knights. And then 5 Relic Terminators. 4 of them had Combi Bolters and Lightning Claws. The Sergeant had a Chain Fist. And then a 5-man Terminator squad, not Deathwing Terminator squad, just Terminator squad. 3 of them had Chain Fists. Actually 4 of them had Chain Fists. The Assault Cannon, and they had Assault Cannon, 4 Chain Fists, and the Sergeant had a Power Sword.
Excellent.
So that's 1,500 on the nose. That last squad also had a Teleport Homer. The idea was to be able to do behind enemy lines, like jump out kind of play, which worked out a couple times, right? So that's 1,500 on the nose. This list, the idea is it takes Martial Interdiction. I start the game with, I think, 2 CP.
2 CP.
Yep. So I take Martial Interdiction. I take behind enemy lines. Death on the Wind, obviously, is something I'm also being able to shoot for here because I've got everything's Ravenwing except for the 10 Terminators. Shock Tactics is also an idea. The idea is that the Black Knights aren't core, but if the Talon Master's next to them, they are. So I can move someplace, take an objective. If they put something OBSEC there, then my Talon Master flies over, and all of a sudden I'm already on the objective, and they become OBSEC, and now I flip it back. So that's one way to be able to score shock tactics, by turning on and off your own obsec. So I learned something was that that doesn't work if your Talon Master's dead. But
yes,
and yeah, so more on that. So the original kind of earlier variant of this list, I had one less squad of Terminators and I had another Talon Master because I wanted to be able to, and I had the Rights of War and the Arbiter's Gate split. But I talked about it with Adam, and he made a really good point: is that multiple like Talon Masters in an Armor or Contempt era, they just don't do that much. They don't. Their killing power is significantly reduced. They're great into Xenos, but into Imperial Power Armor, -1 just ain't cutting it, boys. It just is not.
Right.
And I can completely concur with that analysis after this tournament. So I'm a one Talon Master guy. I think going forward in the future. It would be nice if I had the points or the CP to go Brilliant Strategist as well to keep them at -2. But yeah. So do you have any questions about the list, or what do you think about it?
Well, I'm proud of you for running all those Black Knights, and we've talked about that off the podcast. And I liked the theory behind it because this is where we struggled thinking about secondaries a few times. Looking at Dark Angels list now that Stubborn Defiance just isn't an auto take anymore, which is not a bad thing because that's what the podcast is for, having forums and Discords and Facebook groups. It's like so we can have conversations. And I like the idea that this is part of that the competing philosophies that we've talked about on here before when it comes to building lists and looking at secondaries. Do you build a list and then go, okay, I can score all these different secondaries, or are you going to be behind the philosophy of, okay, I want to try and score this secondary every game, so I'm going to build a list that scores this secondary. And there's that sort of half chicken or the egg kind of conversation.
I think,
and I know people are very much on the I just, like my buddy Chris, we've talked about this before. He like gets mad at me when I talk about this. He's like, no, I build my list and then I go, oh, I can score these secondaries with this list. Okay, I'll play it that way. Whereas I'm much more of okay, I struggle with secondaries, so I'm going to try and build to it. And I feel like, that's kind of the idea. What you were working on here is like, I have this tool kit built in here because I do want to try and do this one.
Yeah, I think that you have to design with your victory condition in mind. For a lot of armies, like Dark Eldar, Orcs, Necrons these days, like it doesn't matter what you do because all the secondaries are just easy to get. With Space Marines, the secondaries have been nerfed down a little bit, so you can't just go out there and say, okay, well, what might I take these days? Your options are really constrained, so you have to have that in the design process and know what your tech pieces or what each thing is going to do. I'll run down the games, and then we'll talk about kind of what I learned about the list and like what have I learned about the meta in each one. So my first game was Recover the Relics, so mission 11, right? And it was into a gentleman named Chris Doherty who played a Guilliman Death Ball. So it was
oh yes, I've seen this.
Guilliman plus 2 Redemptor Dreadnoughts with Macroplasma plus 2 units of Eradicators.
Ooh,
and then some infantry, like it was a battalion, right? So it's some infantry to move, hold objectives, a librarian to cast Psychic Fortress to give everything a nimble save. Not that they really need it anymore, but there you go. So
it's nice to have.
Yeah. So Recover the Relics is a long edge to long edge. Sorry, correction, a short edge to short edge. So it's a long range mission, and you don't get your CP unless you hold one of the objectives not in your deployment zone. So I started.
Ooh, that's really rough to the fact that like now we don't have as many CP.
Right. So
you're supposed to be scoring it every turn.
Yes, so on turn 1, like you don't, unless you have infiltrators or a redeploy, you don't get that, right? So, and one of the things about Guilliman is just like the Silent King, your boy brings 3 additional command points. So I started with like 1 CP because I spent one to keep my martial interdiction secret, and he started with 5. So. And he had the points to do an Ultramarine redeploy if he wanted to, but I think he elected not to. I'll send you some pictures of the game. I got some so we can throw them up in post.
We
had a lot of we have a very talented terrain builder in Honolulu that builds a new table every month or every few months and donates it to the store. So we had some fire terrain for this event. So this was it was on a moon base, and there's this big this big dome structure in the middle. It was really cool. But anyway, short edge. I moved out turn one and intended to set up my Talon Master a little off, so that he was going to be protected, and then been able to get a line of sight and shoot some of his stuff, right? So just try and get a death on the wind kill and knock out some of his, maybe do some wounds to some of his eradicators. Didn't work, in cover, this, that, and the other, armor contempt, no damage done, doesn't care. And then on his turn, Gilliman makes everything fast. So I did not correctly anticipate how fast those eradicators would move. Plus, remember, they can advance and still shoot those stupid melter rifles. So he was able to, I did not do the trigonometry in my head correctly. So if my Terminators or my bikes are here, my Terminators are here, and my Talon Master's here, he was able to just move a little bit this way, which was able so that my Talon Master was closer than the Terminators, even from 23 inches away. So I lost the Talon Master on turn one to Melt of Fire, which was a stupid mistake. I did not anticipate how fast those guys were. So whoops. That sucked. It wasn't the damage he was going to do. It was the obsec and the reroll ones to wound that I needed. But so yeah. But I went up early on the primaries, and that's always good. I and my other big mistake was, once again, so I dropped I took behind enemy lines, Martial Interdiction, and Death on the Wind. I didn't get a whole lot for Death on the Wind. I really didn't, because just AP -3 on all that plasma, it just doesn't do it anymore. AP 3 is not enough into Space Marines. It's really not. So I'm shooting AP -3 at stuff, and he's taken a 4-up save and cover, and once again, and even though if it's 3 damage, an Apothecary just nope. Okay, cool. Then the Apothecary heals and brings back an Eradicator next turn, gets extra movement. The same stuff that we usually do with Deathwing. So my one big lessons learned out of this moving forward: don't count on a lot of AP3 as your primary killing power. You need AP4. You need Melta. You have to have Melta. Don't count on Lightning Claws in your Terminators. You need Chain Fists, right? You got to bring AP4. You have to have a solution to Armor Contempt. It's AP3 is not good enough. So I went up early on primaries. Wasn't able to do a lot of killing because, again, just the Apothecary and Armor Contempt mitigated all my plasma fire, and I dropped my Deathwing Command Squad behind something, and I said, okay, well, sure. If I forgot about Auspex Scan, even though, sure, they're Deathwing Terminators. I don't care about Auspex Scan.
Yeah.
When you Auspex Scan with Eradicators and Gilliman is giving them reroll everything, it matters.
Yeah.
So that was bad. I could have dropped them in a different corner of the board where they wouldn't have had line of sight, because I was trying to drop my teleport Terminators on one side and my command squad on the other side to pull his formation apart so I could get in there. Didn't work.
Yeah.
So that was a misplay. I should have been a little more conservative with it. And what I did do is I chose his Librarian as the Martial Interdiction, but he didn't know about it. So Samael was able to move up, and on turn 3, jump over the big train in the middle of the board, charge only him, sook, assassinate him, 2 CP, bounce out.
Yeah, that's the play.
And Martial Interdiction works really well if you can pick a character that doesn't have an invul save.
A natural invul.
Doesn't have an invul save, right?
Yeah.
So you just go in there and just sook, goodbye. So, yeah. That is that works.
You don't want to pick Gilliman. He's too hard.
You don't say Gilliman. You don't I used to think, you just put Martial Interdiction on thing that you have to kill anyway. Don't put it on Gilliman. Don't put it on the Silent King. That's not a good idea. Just pick something squishy that you can kill anyway. So yeah. I just got slowly pushed back. My bikes kept getting killed by Milta, and I dropped when my Terminators dropped in behind. They were able to shoot something off an objective, and they were able to move and charge one of those Redemptor Dreadnoughts. And Deathwing Terminators with chain fists punch down Redemptor Dreadnoughts. Like, does not even matter. So they wrecked that thing. Gilliman had to personally come in and clean that up, which I'm a little proud of. But
yeah, that's the thing you got to remember with Gilliman is that he has the one thing that Deathwing Terminators have always had a
output of
weakness
mortal
to, is
wounds.
he just bleeds
output
mortal
of
wounds.
mortal wounds.
Yeah, and it's just
yeah. So I said I knew I wasn't gonna be able to kill Gilliman. So I just if I can kill these dreadnoughts, then I might have a shot. But yeah. So I said this list is supposed to go up the first 3 turns, kind of get beat back, but hopefully I've Death on the Winded and assassinated character that's key to you, and then just end up higher in the end of the game. But didn't work. I lost. I think it was 83 to 64. Right, but the fact that I was able to take his primary objective, which got me 2 CP for every turn that I held it, and I killed one of his dreadnoughts. Nice. But if I had been able to do a little more damage, like to kill one of those units of Eradicators, that probably would have swung the game. But those 2 mistakes were like I didn't get, like I lost one of my behind enemy lines units, and I lost my Talonmaster on turn 1.
Yeah,
I had a shot at it, but I messed it up. That was entirely on me. So
well, and that sounds similar to my experience with this Ultramarines Death Ball, which apparently is popular because if I'm seeing it in Indiana and you're seeing it in Hawaii, the Ultramarines players are talking to each other. This is what they're doing. But yeah, it's very intimidating. You don't really want to go in and fight it until you think you can bring everything to bear. And in my game, I think my problem is I waited too long to try and spring my trap, and I just got cleaned. Because I was going first, I gave him a chance to come in and clean house with Gilliman and score all of his points anyway. Yeah. And because my problem is that I waited too long and let him get too many primaries, so that when I did try and get him, it was too late for me to come back. And it's one of those things too.
I think the way you win that is you have to just be aggressive and push and like bottle them up, so that they and deny them the primaries. So I think that's really the way you win it with a silo list. Just overwhelm them with OBSEC. Just keep move blocking with bikes, and then because you're not going to kill Gilliman in close combat. I mean, it's possible if you can get a Reliquary in there to debuff his 5-up invul and then punch him to death with Ravenwing or Deathwing Terminators, but it's a tough proposition. By the time you get access to him, it's not going to happen. So yeah. So anyway, it was a great game, great looking army, great opponent. I just I made a couple of stupid mistakes. So, all right. Next game was against Brandon with Necrons. This wasn't like the super tooled up, like Silent King and Catan Shards, everything.
Okay.
It was a big unit of Scorpex. There was a Nightbringer. Then there was a lot of Necron bodies, like Immortals, 2 units of Warriors, and a bunch of support characters. Honestly, it didn't look like 1,500 points to me, but that's what it says on the list. So okay, he took the
not enough or too much.
Not enough. I didn't see 1,500 points there. Yeah. Okay. He had several of the Locust Heavy Destroyers. He just didn't roll super well with them.
Okay, but that's where the points were.
So mission was 13, which was Data Scry Salvage. This is a corner to corner deployment with 4 objectives across the slant in the middle, and then every turn you do an action on the objective in your deployment zone. You get points equal to the number of objectives in the middle of the field that you control. Right, but you have to do that. Like you can't do that action if you don't control if your objective in your deployment zone is contested. So there can't be anybody else on the objective. Okay. So I split everything up. Once again, I went first every single game this tournament, which I did not want to do, but that's what happened.
It's always the worst.
So I sent all the bikes around one side and just refused to flank, put Terminators and my Talonmaster on the other side. I kept my command squad on the board, and they just sat on my objective and did the thing every turn. I took
Nice.
martial interdiction, shock tactics, and no prisoners. And I picked martial. Once again, martial interdiction was secret. I picked it on his technomancer, which is their character that doesn't have an invul save. And you do the same thing. Like Samael kind of moved up with him on turn 3, rolls in, assassinates a guy, and then rolls out. Which worked out real well. I got 15 points for it. Them not knowing who you picked for it is terrifying because they can't screen that character because they just don't know.
And I feel like that's something like this is something you figure out before you go to the table, because if you come up to the table and go, hey, what are your, I guess you could ask like, what are the stats on your characters, like offensive, defensive, and you could kind of weasel it out, I guess, that way, without, because if you just walked up to the table and said, hey, which one of your characters doesn't have an invuln save, and they tell you and you go, okay, thanks, and they're like, wait a minute, why did he ask me that question?
All right, so yeah, I think about trying to pick martial interdiction. Generally, you have a conversation with them about their list, and you ask questions like, "Hey, how many characters do you have for us, like for assassinate and stuff like that?" And you just it's not. I mean, you're just getting information. They can read into that whatever they want. I mean, you're not gonna be like, "Hey, what's that? Like, do you have any character? Like, what's that one guy do?" Like, sure. Honestly, most people that aren't Dark Angels players or not like high level competitive players aren't that familiar with the other factions' specific secondaries, unless they're like super meta. So I wouldn't worry that much about it. And even if it was like, what if they got multiple characters that don't have invul saves, like which one would you pick?
Exactly.
I don't know. So yeah. So I wouldn't worry that much about it. But so for this game, I was able to split up, pick up a whole stack of objectives with my big bite blobs. And he just didn't really have the tools to deal with the speed. He took the wrong secondaries. He took what was it? He took Treasures of the Aeons, Purge the Vermin, and Ancient Machinery. So Purge the Vermin requires he gets points for every table quarter that I am not in.
Oh yeah,
and I was in all of them.
Yeah.
So I basically blanked him on Purge the Vermin. He got 2 out of 15 on it, and Treasures of Aeons was for him controlling center field objectives, which he didn't do until like turn 3 and turn 4.
Okay.
So, and Ancient Machineries, once again, he didn't get the opportunity to do Ancient Machineries on, basically you have to do an action on a objective in the middle of the board.
Okay.
And he just didn't get the opportunity to do it. So, cause I went first and just wrapped everything up. So, I was able to score 15 for martial interdiction, 8 for no prisoners, and 6 for shock tactics, mostly because like I took objectives and we didn't trade them very much. Like I considered he had a unit of like 3 or 4 scarabs that was just sitting there. I was like, well, what if I let him take, keep them alive so he takes an objective and I could take it back. But I was like, I just don't want to leave stuff in my backfield.
Right.
So I killed it anyway. It probably would have been a little more optimal if I hadn't, but yeah. So against Xenos, AP3 does a lot. Yeah. AP1 in combat does fine, but not in Space Marines. So he had a Catan, and the Catan did, it Catan does things. Like Nightbringer does Nightbringer things. You don't get invul saves against it, but even still, like it didn't do a whole lot to the Deathwing Terminators. Like it, and his Scorpex didn't do a whole lot to Deathwing Terminators. Oh, I got a really effective use of Line Unbreakable in. Like I had a squad of 5 Deathwing Terminators and the Talonmaster get charged by like a bunch of Scorpex.
Nice.
And use Line Unbreakable on the Talonmaster so that 3 of the Scorpex couldn't fight him, and they had to fight the Terminators instead.
Nice.
And the Terminators just weathered it.
Yeah,
fought back.
I've seen that happen a couple times, and Necron players get real spooked when they charge their dedicated melee unit into Terminators and they don't die, and then the Terminators just turn around and they just annihilate them.
And they just don't move.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah. There was that. So that game went really well for me, 72-44. Once again, I'd been practicing the Necron matchup for a long time.
Right.
And my list was tooled pretty heavily to deal with Necrons and not enough into the Space Marines. So that went pretty well for me. I managed to get onto his home objective and like steal it from him.
Nice.
And once again on turn 3, I had Samael at the right place. He just jumped over, like grabbed the isolated Technomancer, bounced out.
Yep.
And at the end of the game, he had hit. Yeah, so
that's the way to do it.
Yeah, the martial interdiction secret with Samael is real good. It's the fact that he has fly. He can just like hi, bye, gone.
And the other key too is he only has 2 damage on his sword, which makes him not really good at killing other sort of characters like himself, like an Abaddon or Bobby G. But little squishy support characters with only 4 wounds, you only have to get 2 wounds through past the saves, and he kills them. So that's
that was like kind of the key innovation that I had was if I can get in there and kill like an apothecary or like a librarian, something that doesn't have a native invul save, it'll do just it. It's really good for that. So, unfortunately, I didn't get any guard, but so whatever. All right, so my last game was into another Dark Angels list. There were 2 Dark Angels players in the tournament, and we faced each other on turn 3. I was very cross with the TO. I let him know that, but yeah. So let's see if I could pull up that list here. Where did I put it? There we go. All right. So this guy's name is Stuart. We've played before plenty of times. Kind of an interesting take, I think.
Okay.
So once again, at 1,500 points, but so he's got 1 Deathwing Vanguard, obviously. So he has his HQ is a Primaris Captain. With Fury the Lion and Decisive Tactician.
Okay.
And the Vox Espiritum, so it extends the auras by 3 inches.
Oh, so super buff Captain.
Yeah, so super buff. So Fury the Lion is 9-inch aura. The Decisive Tactician is a 9-inch aura, right? So, and he has he comes with a Mastercrafted Power Sword and Relic Shield. So it's a good character.
Yeah.
It's a real good character, right? So then he had a Blade Guard veteran squad, so 5 Blade Guard vets. Then 10 Deathwing Terminators with Lightning Claw. So Sergeant looks like she had 2 with pairs of Lightning Claws, and all the rest had Chain Fists and Storm Bolters.
Okay.
They had 5 Deathwing Terminators with all Lightning Claws. They had 5 Deathwing Terminators. 4 of them had Chain Fists and Storm Bolter. 1 had a Lightning Claw. Right?
Yep.
And then he had Apothecary with Selfless Healer, and a Reliquary of the Repenitent. And then a 10-man Relic Terminator squad with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 Lightning Claw Combi Bolters, 2 Heavy Flamers and Lightning Claws, 1 Combi Bolter and Lightning Claw.
Okay.
So what he took was Oaths a Moment, Assassinate, and Banners.
Okay.
So, and that worked out well for him. He got 10, 10, 15. So 10 on Oaths, 10 on Assassinate, 15 on Banners.
Okay, so this is one of those examples of like people taking things and going, you know what? Oh, because your character, your backup, your buff characters are characters too. It's not just your HQs. So I can see where you got.
Yep.
So yeah.
The whole... and remember, if you kill the Warlord, you get an extra point.
Yeah, it's one of those things where maybe you can't get max, but if you kill what you're supposed to kill, you're still going to get 10, and that's good enough.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. So it was mission 31, Tide of Conviction. So it's long edge to long edge. And you only get CP if you're holding the objective in your deployment zone. Okay. And you get the extra victory points if you're holding objectives in your opponent's side of the board.
Okay.
So so I made one really stupid mistake here. And I should have known better. It was game 3. I was a little tired and a little low on brain sugar.
Yeah, it happens.
And I even said in the beginning of the game, I was like, "This is a stupid idea," but I think I've got to try and push it and see what happens. So I pushed all my bikes up just far enough so that I could get my 10-man squad in range. And I split fire, and I put 5 of them into one Terminator squad and 5 of them into the other. And that was a bad plan. I should have known better. So I should have put everything in one squad. As it was, I killed 1 Terminator in each squad and did damage to the other one. And once again, they're saving on 4s. They have an Apothecary. They don't care.
Yeah.
And so basically, I just gave him free movement when he rezzed one of the Terminators. So on his turn, both squads of Terminators just bodied me.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, well, those first 3, I can overcharge, lose 2 bikes to plasma, to overcharging plasma, and that'll kind of protect me from some discharge. I lost 5 bikes to overcharging plasma.
Ooh, that's not good at all.
Nope.
That's rough.
And at that point I was like, well, I know where this is going. And yeah. So, and once again, with Talon Masters and AP3 plasma, I don't have the output to shift Terminators. I barely have the output to shift AP, 3 up armor.
Yeah.
Especially if it's got a 4 up storm shield. So, yeah, that was a rough game. I was able to. He was one. He figured I had martial interdiction.
Yeah.
And I took it on as apothecary. I scored 15 because I killed his captain with my Talon Master. I shot him down to 1 wound, charged in. Talon Master killed him.
Oh, nice.
Talon Master got killed in return by charging. And my champion went in to kill his apothecary and didn't kill it.
Ooh.
I was very upset. Even though he was rerolling wounds, he just didn't kill it.
Oh, man.
But the Terminators, my relic Terminators charged in, finished the job, and managed to survive the game.
Excellent.
So just definitely Terminators punching on each other for 2 turns was the last 2 turns of the game. I took behind enemy lines, no prisoners, and martial interdiction. No prisoners was a bad choice. I should have done that. I was like, well, there's a lot. Like, I'm going to kill the Terminators. I got 3 wounds each. I'll get a point for each Terminator squad I kill, a point and a half for each Terminator squad I kill. Okay, if I kill 2 or 3 Terminator squads, I'll probably be okay. That was not okay. That was a bad choice. Don't ever do that again. Other thing is, I took behind enemy lines, and I maxed behind enemy lines. Nice. I dropped my command squad, and I teleported my Deathwing teleport squad on turn 1, so they dropped on turn 2. Boom. Hey, by the way, I got behind enemy lines now. But I left them in the corner, out of line of sight. I should have moved the 1 squad forward and threatened his back objective. Yeah. I was just lazy. I was like, I've already lost this game. I'm not feeling it. So
yeah, no, I've been there. I understand.
Yeah. So that was how that went. I got wrecked. 90 to 57. I just once those man, that decisive tactician makes a big difference. It like those Terminators got in there and they did what they do. So I got swarmed on turn 1 hard. So like I said, I should have known better. I did know better. I did it anyway.
Well, and that's the thing when you're doing lists is that you don't think about it necessarily, but when you jump up there and you're fighting an army like this, it's like notoriously slow in a way. But if you jump up there with your fast units and don't actually kill anything, you're literally just handing them all that free movement in the charge phase. Because if you think about a good long charge, is like twice the movement normally. So if you just stayed back, they would have just had to crawl, and you could have just taken pot shots at them. But that's the problem is that you can with some of it. I mean, even at 18 inches, it's so short range that you are just kind of Well,
to get my back unit in 18 inches, the forward unit was closer. So it was like 15 inches away. But if I had dumped everything into that 1 squad, I probably would have killed it or got it down to like 1. Right. And then that was the one that was a little closer. Yeah. And so they would have been a little harder getting the free movement from like rezzing a 40 millimeter base 1.9 inches away from another Terminator. So it's basically 3.5 inches of free movement.
Yeah.
Plus a 5-inch move, plus 1 inch on the charge.
Yeah.
Nope. Can't. Yep. So
and people don't think about it, but it is so powerful that all that free movement.
Yeah, for sure. And like with that free movement, you can spread out, you can go other directions, you can touch other objectives. So it's a good list. 1,500 points. It's like 10, 20, 30 Terminators and 5 Blade Guard plus support characters. So
not a lot of models. You get that done pretty fast.
It's not. I mean, you need a lot of Terminators, which is a thing, right? So it's kind of expensive money wise, but because especially with Relic Terminators, maybe not anymore now that Heresy's out, but Relic Terminators like are pricey. I paid a lot of money to get my hands on 10 Cataphractic Terminators. Like foof.
Yeah, guess who's going to use his GW employee bonus discount at Gen Con on? I'm going to see if I can use it on one of those Heresy box.
Yeah.
So we'll find out.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's
yeah.
expensive otherwise.
So that's my my experience. Listen, what I learned was that the big things, the ability to reach out and grab objectives early is super important, and that's a capability this list had that I really liked. Because I had seen my buddy Joe playing Necrons, like he went to this like pure, like I'm going to score so many points in the first 3 turns. It doesn't matter if you table me, I've already won, right? So like little squads of Tomb Blades, little squads of Scarabs, just other obsec, just go out and do all these actions, get all these points. It's like, man, I like that, and I can't like a death ball, like a Deathwing death ball, the way I play it, where I'm all clustered up around something, can't really do that. So maybe so the bike list that we're talking about has some play into that. Especially if you use Outriders. Outriders with all those attacks are going to be really good at picking up the little stuff that's running around. Especially the way I'm envisioning that is like, turn 1, Samael throws, his Chapter Master buff onto the Outriders. They go forward, 19 attacks, re-rolling. That'll pick up a lot of, like skirmishing units. And then, next turn you can start to move out with your killing stuff. This big 10-man Brick and Black Knights is a little awkward to maneuver, and that 18-inch range makes it so that from them to get in and hit, they're going to be able to get hit back. So you have to charge, commit, then maybe move away. They need a lot of CP to move functionally. So, and it just puts all your eggs in one basket. And when you lose that unit or it's pinned down someplace, you lose the ability to interact with the rest of the board. So, and that's tough. But so what I'm thinking about in the future, if you want to move on to that.
No, what we're going to see next time.
So I'm thinking, I'll pull this up on my battle scribe real quick. Stupid phone. Unlock. Samsung phones, man. They look pretty, but yeah. So I'm thinking the Azrael Death Ball might be with a couple little things to support. Probably has some play, and I almost played this list in this tournament, but I didn't because the one I did play was hobby complete, and I would have had a couple more things to do for this.
Okay.
But, so what I like about this, and I will find it. There we go. So here's kind of what I'm thinking. So I'm going to do a battalion with Azrael, Ezekiel, and a Primaris Chaplain on a bike. So normally I don't like Primaris Chaplains on bikes because they don't have enough attacks. They don't like whatever. But if you use them as buff and movement and objective grabby, then I think that big base and all those wounds does a lot for you. So then I was going to have 5 Assault Intercessors with a Power Sword, 5 Infiltrators, and 5 Tactical Marines. Right, and then my elites, I was going to have a Relic Contemptor, but not a shooty one. One with a Plasma Cannon and a Dreadnought melee weapon.
Okay, you got punch stuff.
And the Dreadnought melee weapon, by that I mean a Dreadnought Chain Fist.
Oh,
so this is something similar. So the Leviathan can take a similar one. So a Dreadnought Chain Fist, in case you were wondering, has it's strength times 2, so 14, AP 4, 2d3 damage against vehicles. It's flat 6.
Oh yeah, that's nice.
So this is my hey there, Silent King. What's up?
Yeah, or Knights.
Flat 6 damage.
Or
flat 6 damage. Yeah.
These was it these T9 Land Raiders everybody's been talking about?
Mm-hmm. Not concerned about that no more. Don't care.
No.
so and you can. So this guy, he's 160 points. And
that's not bad.
Did I pay for the points to make him? I gave him Rites of Initiation, so that only for the fact that if he can get, he can score Martial Interdiction and get maximum points. He's got a 5-up invul save.
Yeah, I was going to say that's the key part about having the Contemptors. You have that 5-up invul.
Yeah. So yeah, and then I've got an Apothecary with Selfless Healer, and then 3 Assault Centurions.
Oh yeah,
with Flamers and Hurricane Bolters.
That was in one of my notes that's been in. It was Stephen 4 apparently ran Salt and Centurions recently.
With the extra speed that that Blood Angels get, you can throw Wings of Sanguinius on them, I think, or something, and they can maybe you can only do that with characters. I don't remember, but yeah, they've got the speed and they've got the damage output in that, and White Scars can do it too, as well too. So then I've got 3 Eliminators, so a squad of 3 Eliminators, a squad of 5 Eradicators, and a squad of 8 Hellblasters with Assault Plasma.
Are the last fusils on the Eliminators?
No, they're actually the bolt rifles. And here's why. I actually paid the CP to mark for command and take the bolt of judgment.
You could just go out there and cap people with them.
Because martial interdiction.
Yep.
If push comes to shove and I can just say, hey, that guy, bam, dead. Yep. With a flat 3 damage, AP -3 in heavy. And then the other 2 snipers hit him as well, and then I can just smoke bomb, bounce those guys out of the game.
Yeah.
So they can live. So that's one option, or they can soften a guy up so that my chaplain can actually beat him to death. Right.
Yeah.
So
I like it.
Yeah, and then obviously Eradicators, because I saw what they did with Gilliman, and with Azrael, they're going to get a 4-up invul save, and they get +1 to hit, right? And then here's the thing about this Centurion Assault Squad. Righteous Repugnance does not require the core keyword.
No, it does not.
So, turn 1, and I've got a squad of 3 Outriders, my fast attack slot. So turn 1,
nice.
I either Righteous Repugnance or Azrael Chapter Master, those guys, they go off, they grab an objective, they kill whatever's on that objective, right? And then turn 2, and I've got my Centurion plus Eradicator plus Hellblaster Death Ball that moves with Azrael and the Apothecary, and then the Contemptor Dreadnought is there also to be a please charge me, I will whoop you, right? Yeah. And then Ezekiel stays in the middle there as well. Then I've got, and once again, Assault Intercessors also interact pretty well with Righteous Repugnance because they can fight twice with 2 CP. And this list has 4 CP after all the upgrades and everything I buy for it.
That's where having Ezreal giving you the free CP like Gilliman helps out. So
yeah, for sure. You can
afford to pay for things like, was it the Martial Legacy, the -1 CP to bring the Relic Contemptor?
Yep. So
nice.
So I'm thinking this might have some play. Is it going to get outplayed by a bunch of little things holding a bunch of objectives? Maybe. But listen, Hellblasters are AP5 in the Tactical Doctrine. Yeah. I'm not that'll solve a lot of the AP problems I had last game. Eradicators are AP4, AP5 in the Devastator Doctrine or the Tactical Doctrine. If you put those heavy Melter Rifles on them, so heavy Melter Rifles are D6 +2 damage at range and D6 +4 damage if you're within half range.
That's pretty good.
So, right about that.
And you're going to get them in because you have the 4-up invul and you have all these things screening them. You'll get them in there and they can safely do that. So I can see what
and they can move. They'll be able to move. They'll be able to move that up, and 24 inches D6 +2 is pretty good, right? And D6 +4, dude. What?
Mm-hmm.
So that'll kill your 3 wound heavy infantry stuff. That'll kill a lot, right? And that's the unit that takes Azrael's Brilliant Strategist. I haven't decided whether to spend the CP to put that on there or not, but and then I'm really liking Contempt or Dreadnoughts for the 1 CP. All of a sudden, I'm a lieutenant.
Yeah.
The only downside to that,
of the Ancients.
Yep. The only downside to that is it gives your opponent a target for their anti-tank weapons.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I like it. It's got a lot of functionality in the list. I don't know if not taking it just to. Because I'm saying, okay, well, they're going to shoot all those guns at the Centurions. But
you got to give them something. They're also just going to shoot your Eradicators, and you don't get to play with the Eradicators. So if you saturate them with all these big, scary targets, they're going to have to just pick and choose what you get to play with, and then you just go, okay, well, if I get to play with this, I'm going to kill you with it.
Yeah, so anyway. I was able to, a test game I did for this 1,500-point tournament. I played a variant on this list, kind of.
Okay.
And it did really well into Necrons. and like I had a Redemptor Dreadnought, and that Redemptor under Righteous Repugnance just wrecked house. And even without an invul save, with all the armor contempt and eternal duty or whatever the -1 damage is, like he survived a lot. So that's pretty good. I'm excited to try and play that. I got to paint some Eradicators because I have the ones from the Dominus box. I need a couple more, but yeah. Another variant of this list I had, instead of the Chaplain, had a second Librarian with Librarius Discipline, because Might of Heroes does require core, and Relic Contemptors are core. So that's another attack.
Oh, nice.
And makes them toughness 8.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Right, and you can throw Veil of Time on them as well to reroll charges and fight first.
Also very good.
So if you've got like problems with things that throw fight last out there, like Chaos does nowadays, or once again the Silent King, then that is a really scary melee unit. So, but that requires, it also gives you access to Null Zone potentially if you want it.
Yeah.
Once again, Null Zone, trying to cast Null Zone without a +1 is really sketch. So, yeah. Anyway, so that's pretty much where I'm at on that. It's kind of where my thinking is going. Is I saw how effective that Gilliman Death Ball was, and I'm not saying that Azrael's Death Ball is going to be as effective, but it's effective in different ways, right? And he's like 100 and something points less than Gilliman, so 150 points less than Gilliman. So anyway, that's where I'm at on that. What do you think? Cool. Moving on then.
Sorry, the grandfather clock was going off in the background. I forgot I mute my mic. I don't have to edit it out. So I heard you mention Outriders twice. So I know from the pre-show where we just kind of talk it out that you have Outriders to show. So monthly challenge, sounds like Heath has some Outriders to show in town.
Yep, I got a squad of these little guys done.
Nice. Look at that hood. Look at those wangs. Oh, so you went with the side wings like that. Okay, I see what you did. Yeah,
that's how I do the side wings on the Outriders. So I figured they're like little like control veins or something. But yeah. And then all his little,
they have blades on the outside, so you slice people up when you drive by.
All his little streamers. So
off the back. Yeah, I like that.
Yep, that's the plan.
Definitely cool. All right. Well, if you haven't gathered from the way I'm dressed and the location behind me, I'm at my parents' house because right after this, I'm going to my grandma's 80-something birthday party. So
happy birthday,
I don't
Grandma.
have any of my... Yeah, thank you. And I don't have... Well, her favorite birthday present is that England won the Euros against Germany, of all people, today in women's soccer. So she's over the moon. Birthday present to her from the homeland. So my stuff's at my house. So I will, as Heath has suggested, we'll get some post-production up of the Landspeeder Storm I was working on. And then I got to fix... part of it because one of the I put it together wrong and I had to rip it apart really quick and try and fit the back piece with the seat in, and it doesn't fit once you've built most of the model. So I had to start cutting pieces off of it to make it fit, like the wing, the fans, and one of the fans popped off and has disappeared into my apartment somewhere and I can't find it. So I have basically everything else built except I'm still trying to find some weird piece in all my bits to just fill that gap because I can't find it. So, but outside of that, I have a Landspeeder Storm, the one with the laser cannon that Adam was telling us about, because I want to try out that 2-up ballistic skill Landspeeder. It just sounds really cool. Yeah. Do you have any plan for next month? Something else that he showed me looked like a character. So maybe we need to work on a character for next month.
I'm down for that. I'm going to be. I think I can commit to that. I've got a lot of travel planned in the next couple months. I'm going to another tiny island in the Pacific Ocean for work for a week. Nice. And then my wife and I are going to Alaska for our anniversary for a week. And then
excellent.
Yeah, then 2 weeks after that, my good friend Joe and I are going to Europe for a week and some change, and we're gonna do the Hajj to Warhammer World. In addition to go seeing an American football game. So yeah. I'll get something done. We'll see what it is. If nothing else is done, I think that going to Warhammer World counts as hobby progress. So
yeah, that's a once in a lifetime trip that's totally worth it. And anyone that's never been, pay the money to go through the museum, because at first I thought £5 to go to the museum, whatever. Because I thought it was just going to be one room. No, it's like half that building. It feels like once you get in there and start going through all the exhibits, and it is amazing, totally worth it. So definitely do that, Heath, because I was amazed by what they got in there.
yeah,
Hopefully, I remember they had it closed, and I think they had to do some repairs, like there was a water leak. So hopefully, it's all fixed and back the way it is when you get there, and you get to see the whole thing. Because it would suck if they had parts of it closed.
Yeah. So I will take a bunch of pictures and some video, and maybe we edit that together into a vlog of some sorts. But yep, that's the plan. So
excellent. All right, so moving on to community interaction. So we have from YouTube, Matthew Wasserman commented on our last month's episode. Late to this episode, tons of great thoughts on the Nephilim changes. Would have loved Adam's take on shock tactics and Oaths of the Moment. Would be a killer combo if you're playing a mission with a center objective, which it sounds like that was something that we were talking about earlier when you were talking about your tournament experience. And I'm sure we can message Adam and get a response back for next month's episode. And we'll get that question answered for you, Matt.
Yeah.
It'll be easy. And then Kyle Daniel said, "Aw, yeah. Excellent as always, gents." Thank you. Thank you for the compliment. We appreciate
Thank you much, Kyle.
Good. And I will tell you, Heath, that we're starting to see, I had about 30 some odd plus hits on Anchor for the audio only, and we had almost 50 views on YouTube for the last month. So and that's like, and this is consistent. Like, I'm consistently hitting these numbers now. So there's definitely a small community of Dark Angels players out there that are listening and watching. So please comment. Please let us know what you think, because we shout you out in the video, and it gets us thinking about things going forward too. So please comment, email. I think the Dankless Wargaming email works. The Dankless Wars website, I think, has been axed. I tried to get to it the other day, and it's suddenly gone. So I guess I wasn't logging in enough to keep it going. But you can still email danklesswargaming@gmail.com. If you are listening and you want to leave a comment, I can do that. All right. So you got anything else, Heath?
No, I think we're both active on the Dark Angels Facebook page, and I'm on the Dark Angels competitive Facebook page as well. My name is my username on Facebook, so you know how to get a hold of me if you want to. Let's see. I think as a YouTuber, we are contractually obligated to say like, share, subscribe. But yeah, that's all there is to it. I'm gonna go as soon as we're done here. I'm gonna pack up. I'm gonna go down to Joe's house. I'm gonna play another game. So.
Excellent, and we'll hear all about it next month. So there we go. So
it's gonna be Dark Eldar, not not Dark Angels. But
you can tell us about it anyway.
That's fair.
It's still dark.
It's still dark. So dark. Evil space pain fairies.
So thank you all for listening to this month's episode of the Path to Redemption, the Warhammer 40,000 Dark Angels podcast. Our next episode will be out towards the end of August, early September. And I'll have some Gen Con news to go along with all that too.
Yeah.
So please subscribe, like, and comment below if you're watching us on YouTube or listening to it on your preferred podcasting service, or email us, as I just mentioned before. And last but not least, we'd like to thank Purple Planet for the use of their music. Till next time, I'm Bailey from Dankless Wargaming.
This is Heath with Table Hawaii.
Stay loyal, Angels.